They said I was gonna be a star. The next big thing. When the game finally drops, boom! I'm not even on the roster.
Wow.
That's rough, man.
I gave up everything to be famous. You think this is a freaking costume?
No. Why would it be?
I've got a lot to be sad about. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go crawl into a bottle and never come out!
You're probably wondering who that was. Well, he's a fighting game character that got cut from his game. You see, like movies, sometimes things get cut from games either due to the developers running out of space, or out of time, or deciding that it simply wasn't worth the effort.
But, as you know, we are serious video game journalists.
And we refuse to allow these abandoned warriors to be cast into the void of the forgotten. So here are 5 fighting game characters who were cut from their games and never used.
Oh, they got used all right. Punching in at number 5 are Jeff and Mijito, Virtua Fighter. Yeah, there's 2 of them, but they're in the same game, so just roll with it. Sega's Virtua Fighter was a virtual game changer. Released in 1993, it presented a more realistic approach to fighting games apart from the fireball-throwing, spine-ripping lunacy which was style at the time. And it opened the door to other arena funners such as the Dead or Alive series, Tekken, and Soul Calibur. The game boasted a roster of 9 fighters, standard for the time, but 2 fighters were left on the cutting room floor before the game's release. First, we have Jeff. There's not a whole lot to be said about Jeff, except for he wore army clothes and wore a hat and sunglasses which could knock off his mug with a well-timed blow. Next is Majido, who is featured on the cabinet art in the arcades with the name Akira, but was absent altogether from the game. Both of these lost fighters are playable by performing some hacking stuff in the MAME emulation system, but neither of them have a full moveset of their own, so I hope you like a lot of basic punching and kicking.
Coming out of the shadows at number 4 is Noob Saibot, Mortal Kombat 4. Noob Saibot was first revealed as a hidden opponent in Mortal Kombat 2 and has become a staple character in the MK universe. At first, his origins were shrouded in mystery, but has since been established as the resurrected soul of the original Sub-Zero from the first Mortal Kombat tournament and the older brother of the current Sub-Zero. The warrior Wraith was such a fan favorite, he eventually became a playable character in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and was on his way to being a playable character in Mortal Kombat 4. However, for whatever reason, Noob was scrapped and replaced with the character Raiko of all people instead. If you're somehow able to track down a first release 1.0 version of the original MK4 cabinet, good luck with that, it's possible to play as Noob Saibot through a cheat. Just know he has a very limited moveset and apparently no fatalities. And where's the fun in that?
Creeping up at number 3 is Biolante, Godzilla, Save the Earth. Biolante is one of my favorite Godzilla monsters. A towering plant beast formed by combining Godzilla's DNA with that of a plant in a human. She is one of the most vicious-looking kaijus ever conceived and genuinely gives me the willies. She was fully programmed and ready to go as a playable monster in Godzilla Save the Earth for the PS2 and Xbox, but was cut from the game at the last minute due to...
Stop!
Licensing issues? You're making a game about Godzilla monsters with the Toho company's blessing and you still have to ask permission or something? What's going on there? Anyways, like the other fighters on this list, you can play as her with some hacking of the game's file, and she's in every other Godzilla fighting game, so it's not like she's starved for attention as far as video games go. I just wanted her on this list because I have a crush on her.
Wrestling away the number 2 spot is Atom Bomb, WWF Wrestlemania the Arcade game. 1995 was a busy year for Midway Games, as hot off the heels of Mortal Kombat 3 came the release of WWF Wrestlemania. The game took a more slapsticky fighting game approach to wrestling as opposed to a simulation style, with wrestlers using superpowers and cartoonishly exaggerated versions of their normal in-ring movesets. The game's roster sported all the popular pugilists of the era, but one newcomer was sadly omitted from the carnage in this cabinet, and that would be Atom Bomb. A wrestler who debuted in 1993 as the radioactive survivor of the 3 Mile Island incident. He was slated to be a hidden character in WrestleMania the arcade game, and even went as far as getting digitized for the game, but unfortunately it seems Adam Bomb was left swinging. It's possible there was a way to unlock an unfinished version of the character, but either no one has ever tried, or he's genuinely not there. From what I could find, the reason given was that the developers simply ran out of time. But it's more likely due to the fact by the time the game was nearing the end of development, Adam Bomb simply failed to connect with wrestling fans and just wasn't popular enough. Probably due to his radioactive personality.
Boozing in at the number 1 spot is Hobocop, Clayfighter 63 1/3. Clayfighter was developer Interplay's foray into the fighting game genre, and it's a fondly remembered series. Each game featured a colorful cast of characters and wasn't shy when it came to parody. That is, except for Hobocop. He was supposed to appear on the roster of the 3rd entry in the series, Clayfighter 63 1/3, which would only be released on the Nintendo 64. Hobocop was a police officer who turned to drinking and living in a dump due to the horrors of the job finally breaking his willpower and his mind. He was featured in promo art for the game and appeared in a beta copy sent out for preview purposes, and even had his backstory and moves featured in a gaming magazine at the time. But when the game finally reached the shelves, Hobocop was nowhere to be found. He wasn't even included in the Sculptor's Cut released as a Blockbuster Video exclusive a year later. The popular belief is that Hobocop was deemed too controversial by the developers, that they were punching down on the homeless and mentally ill. One rumored fatality of his included flashing his junk until his opponent died in a clear parody of Orchid's finisher from Killer Instinct. His name does appear in the source code of the game, and with some finagling with the file you can get his logo to appear, but no playable build exists in any version which was released. Though he may never have been given a shot at fighting game glory, Hobocop will forever be immortalized here on YouTube, so that his spirit will remain in the halls of the...
Who said I was controversial?
Oh my god, he's back!
Don't look at it, he'll die!
I don't know how much longer I can hang on!
Quick! Quick, if you're still watching, click on one of the videos overhead. It's the only way to save yourself!